Hello people, are you confused about what's the difference between movable and immovable property? Well, today we'll be studying about the concept of movable and immovable property. So let's get started. The term property is very vast and thus it is difficult to give it a simple definition. Before defining the term, we have to ask ourselves in which context it is being used. For example, a tree may be a immovable property when it is being taking nourishment from the land, or it may be a movable property when it is meant to be used as standing timber. For Indian legislation, it is necessary to determine which property is movable and which is immovable because both of these properties are guided by different laws such as limitation period, registration. Property includes everything which may be owned and have a value. For getting more details on a topic, click on the link given in the description. We have a detailed in-depth article written on the topic, or visit www.lawyersafari.com. Now let's go to the meaning of immovable property. According to Transfer of Property Act, immovable property does not include standing timber, growing crops and grass. The definition is not comprehensive and it just says that standing timber, growing crops and grass are not immovable property. The definition of immovable property is also given under Section 2, Clause 6 of Indian Registration Acts, and it is somewhat similar to the definition of Transfer of Property Act. Even the General Clauses Act, Section 3, Clause 26 says that immovable property shall include land, benefits arising out of land, and things attached to earth, or permanently fastened to anything attached to earth. Combining all the three definitions given in the statute, the immovable property includes land, benefits arising out of land, things attached to earth, land. The land includes everything on the surface, below the surface and above the surface of the land. Benefits arising out of land. Any right by which a person makes a profit or gains is known as his benefits arising out of land. The benefits arising out of land will also be an immovable property because it is incidental to the earth and it cannot be served from it. For example, right to capture fishes from the lake is an example of benefits arising out of land. Things will be more clear from a case law. Moving to case law, R.N. Behra versus State of Orissa. In this case, the main issue was whether right to capture fishes from the lake will be movable property or immovable property. The court held that the right to capture fishes for 5 years is equivalent to profit appendre in England and thus a benefit arising out of land in India. Thus, it should be considered as immovable property. Moving to next case law, Srimati Shantabai versus State of Bombay. In this case, the facts were the petitioner's husband got the right to cut woods, basically timber, from the forest for the period of 12 years. The issue was whether right to enter the land and to cut and carrying away timber is a benefit arising out of land. It was held by the court that the period was 12 years, hence the trees which will be perfect for cutting after 12 years are not fit to cut right now. Thus, it is declared that the right was of immovable property. Further, things attached to earth. It includes things rooted in earth like crops, things embedded in earth like equipments, and third, attached to what is so embedded for permanent beneficial enjoyment of that to which it is being attached. For example, windows in a house. In the case of things rooted in earth, the general rule says that all the things that are attached to earth are said to be attached to earth and are immovable property. But the exception is that growing crops, grass and standing timber, though rooted in earth, are considered as immovable property because they can only be used when they are served. Things embedded in earth. Things which are fixed below the level to which it will go by its own weight are considered as things embedded in earth. There are two parameters to test whether a thing which is embedded in earth will be a movable property or an immovable property. The first one is degree and mode of annexation. The basic principle in this is that if the thing can be removed from the earth without causing much of the damage to the land, it should be considered as immovable property. And the second parameter is object of annexation. It is more critical element to determine whether the purpose is to be treated as movable property or immovable property. Thus, we have to gather the intention of the parties and then only we can decide whether the object was to make it movable or immovable. And the last one is things attached to what is so embedded in it. The test for it is the thing must be attached permanently. The second, it must be attached for the beneficial enjoyment of house or building or to which it has been attached. Again, there are case laws to make the things more clear. Coming to first case law, Bombay versus Mano. In this case law, there was a touring cinema and the person has purchased some equipments, mainly a projector and diesel engine oil, and he has embedded them into the earth. The issue was whether these equipments will be a movable property or an immovable property. The court held that these will be movable property because it can be suggested from the name that it was a touring cinema and thus the intention was to make the instruments as movable property. The second case law in this regard is Duncan's Industries Limited versus State of UP. In this case, there was a fertilizers company and it was sold to another person including all the lands and the equipments. The question was whether the equipments will be movable property or immovable property. The court held that the machinery that is embedded in earth is embedded as permanent use of it. It is not possible to remove them without causing severe damage to the land, hence it will be a immovable property. Now coming to movable property. Similar to immovable property, the term movable property has also not been clearly defined anywhere. The main thing that we know are standing timber, growing crops and grass are considered as movable property. Coming to standing timber, trees and shrubs are generally considered as immovable property, but when it is considered as standing timber, it becomes a movable property. It is because the main use of standing timber or timber wood is to make houses and it can only be done when the tree has been cut or unrooted from the land. Thus, that is why it is considered as a movable property. Growing crops are also considered as movable property because the crops are also to be cut and then only they can be consumed by people. Finally, the grass is generally food for cattle and hence it is also considered as movable property. A detailed difference has been given in the blog written on the website, so please click on the link given in the description. And if you like the information, don't forget to give a thumbs up. We will keep bringing the new lectures, so hit the subscribe button and never miss a video by hitting on the bell icon. If you want to ask something or